preach the word of God to you.
Come on.
As always, every Sunday morning, you know what we do? We get into a good old-fashioned Bible study. So today we are going to be studying the book of Nehemiah. The book of Nehemiah. You know, let's turn our Bibles over to Nehemiah chapter 1. You know, Alejandro and Ricardo got up this morning. They did the welcome from Nehemiah chapter 1, and I was like, dang, he just took my whole lesson. I almost let Ricardo come up and preach this morning. Because it was a very good welcome, and it was exactly what we're going to talk about today. The title of the lesson is Restoration for the Nations. Restoration for the nations. And this is a very important concept to understand, guys. What is restoration? It's going back to something when it was originally made. Going back to something as it was originally made. If you have a laptop or if you have an Android, sorry, it's gross. Or if you have an iPhone, you should have an iPhone, right? We don't have we're a unified church here, right? We have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone, right, you guys can always go into your settings. You go to general, and then you can actually go, and it'll say factory reset. If you click on that, it says, are you sure you want to restore your iPhone? And what does it do? It removes all your apps, all your photos, all your contacts, and it restores the phone to what? Factory settings. Like it's fresh out of the box. The iPhone, the way that it was what? Meant to be, in a sense. Right? And so what restoring is going back. Going back. You know, let me do a little bit of church history compressed here. Christianity starts in the book of Acts chapter 2. Jesus comes down to earth. He makes people into disciples. He dies on the cross, resurrects. And in Acts chapter 2, Christianity starts fresh out of the box. Brand new, pure, untainted. Right? However, the last book of the Bible is written is the book of Revelation. Right? And if you read the first 3 chapters, they're called the Mayday letters. Like Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Because the Apostle John writes down the words of Jesus, and he's actually telling 7 churches in Asia, you're giving in to false teaching. You've corrupted, you've tainted, you've downloaded all of these apps, all of these teachings that are not in line with the teachings of Jesus. Right? Christianity is being twisted. Why? Because there's a Satan. There's the father of lies. There's a guy named Satan who's trying to corrupt the truth to prevent people from going to heaven.
Come on, Nate.
That's in the year 90. That's the last book of the Bible. So, from there until now has been about 2,000 years of history. And what do you think has happened over those 2,000 years? Yes, we've departed from the truth. You know, and we're not the first people to realize that, in a sense, the truth of Christianity has gone away from the Bible. There was a man in the 1500s, you might have known about him. His name is Martin Luther. And he decided that, man, the largest church at that time is called the Catholic Church. And it's very corrupt, it still is. And, man, you know what? We need to reform religion. So in the 1500s, we have the Great Reformation. But here's the thing. If I take my iPhone, and I reform it. Like I buy it a new case. I download 2 or 3 new apps. Maybe remove 2 or 3 apps. Did I restore it?
No.
Did I fix the problem?
No.
Did I go all the way back to the way it was meant to be? No, I just put on a new case. I just removed a few apps. I didn't actually fix the problem. Changing the form doesn't change the root issue. A lack of truth and conviction. That's the root issue. And basically the Reformation has just introduced a new false way to be a Christian or have an iPhone.
Come on.
But for the first time since the book of Acts in recorded church history, right here in Oklahoma, yes, the 20 people in this room, we're trying to restore biblical Christianity so that we can save all nations. You know, this is super important. Because in the time of Nehemiah, where we are, what does that have to do with Nehemiah? Nehemiah had been taken captive and he had been living away from worshiping God. He'd been living in the city of Babylon. And a few years before the book of Nehemiah, God's people were given an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime chance to leave Babylon and go back to Jerusalem and restore the temple. Now, the temple was a physical building where people would worship God. So they had to go back and restore the temple. Nehemiah had a chance to go, but he didn't go. He didn't go. He didn't think that it was worth it. He didn't think that spending his life restoring truth, restoring Christianity, restoring the proper worship of God, it wasn't that important to him. He believed God was there, but God, he had other ambitions. Pouring out his life into God's dream, God, I don't know if God knows how much I can do. And so he got busy with other stuff. One day Nehemiah's brother comes back to tell him how is it going, restoring the worship of God. And that's the conversation we're going to jump in. That's Nehemiah chapter 1. Let's pick right here, Nehemiah 1. It says, the words of Nehemiah, son of Hakaliah. In the month of Kislev, in the 20th year, while I, Nehemiah, was in the citadel of Susa, Hanani, one of my brothers came from Judah with some other men. I questioned them about the Jewish remnant that survived the exile and about Jerusalem. They said to me, those who survived the exile and they're back in the province, back restoring Jerusalem, they're in great trouble. They're in great disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates have been burned with fire. When I heard these things, I sat down and I wept. For some days I mourned, I fasted, I cried, and I prayed before the God of heaven. It finally clicked. It finally clicked for Nehemiah. You see, God was always important to Nehemiah, but God was not urgent. God was not pushing Nehemiah to make a decision right now.
Come on.
And so when the time came to restore the temple, Nehemiah was like, yeah, my brother Had and I, all those guys, they'll take care of it. The guys who are super serious about God, the girls who are serious about God, they can do it. I believe in God, I read the Bible, I pray, so it's cool. No big deal. No big deal. But then when news comes back of how it's going restoring, it's like not going. Not at all. Jerusalem's unguarded, it's burnt down. The people who are trying to love God, they're trying to make it happen, but it's not working.
Come on, bro.
And Nehemiah says, oh my gosh, I could have done something.
Yeah.
I have the talent, the skills, the potential to do something great for God, and I didn't do it.
Come on, bro.
He's filled with regrets. If you drop down to the last sentence in the book of Nehemiah, it says right here, I was cupbearer to the king. What does that mean? It means Nehemiah was educated, he was talented, he worked with royalty. Most cupbearers helped strategize military tactics. They had extensive leadership training. You see, what it takes to build a movement that goes and restores Christianity all over the world is men and women who can lead.
Yeah.
Men and women who are talented. Men and women who have great bandwidth. Men and women who have a dream to be used by God to do something greater than they could ever do on their own.
Yeah.
But Nehemiah said, you know what? Better than that, I'm going to work in a palace. I'm going to work for a king. I'm going to get myself busy with other tasks. And they're good tasks. They're royal tasks. He got a lot of money, I'm sure. He had fine clothes and a good reputation. Woo! But he still was filled with regret. None of that stuff fulfilled Nehemiah's ambition.
Yeah.
Because he could have been doing something greater.
Yeah.
Restoring the walls of Jerusalem. And I believe in the same way.
Come on, Nate.
We're trying to restore biblical Christianity around the world. We're trying to build a wall around all nations. You guys, if you were here and you saw the Good News Network video, we're 136 churches in 56 nations.
Wow. Come on.
And we might be like, wow, that's so cool. Guys, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
There's 195 registered nations in the world. We're barely 25% of the way. to have a real biblical relation with God.
Come on, Nate. Come on, bro.
And yet there's 12,000 disciples, and we might be like, wow, 12,000. Wow, a GLC, 4,000 true disciples worshiping God. Guys, 4,000, that's like 0.0001%.
Yeah.
The most ambitious, biggest, best thing you can do with your life is to pour it all out
Yeah, come on.
Come on.
and restore Christianity to the world.
Come on, Nate. Come on, bro.
Guys, the glory is there. The glory is right there. The fight, it's there. If we would but catch the dream.
Yeah.
If we would have a life of worship, of devotion to God.
Yeah.
If we would get out of our own little plans, oh, my 4 years in college at OU, doing all this, who cares? In the grand scheme of things, you're going to be 30, and you're not going to reflect back on all the clubs you were in. Who cares? But you will look back at the end of your life. And did I do something great for God?
Yes. Come on, Nate. Come on, bro.
Something that changed the nations. My first point, restoring a life of worship. Restoring a life of worship. So Nehemiah, this great leader, gets the news. Gets the news that it's not going so well. Restoring biblical Christianity. It says that he cries, he weeps, he sits down on the ground, and for many days prays to God. What does he pray? Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 5. Then I said, Lord, the God of heaven, the great and awesome God, who keeps his covenant of love with those who love him. How do we love him? Oh God, I love you. No. And keep his commands.
Yeah.
Let your ear be attentive. Let your eyes be open. He's telling God, God, listen to me. God, you look at me and hear my prayer that your servant is praying before you day and night. For your servants, the people of Israel, I confess the sins that we Israelites, including myself and my father's family, have committed against you. We've acted wickedly towards you. We have not obeyed the commands, the decrees, and the laws that you gave your servant Moses. Remember the instruction that you gave your servant Moses? As if God forgets, right? If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and obey my commands, then, even if you're exiled people, even if you're at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from there. I will bring them into the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. I love Nehemiah's prayer.
Yeah, so
Because
good.
he's honest with God. He knows he's close enough to God to talk to God like this. Many of us don't pray like this. God, give me your ears. God, listen. God, I made some mistakes. God, we don't like talking about mistakes because how do we feel? Yeah, we feel like a failure. We feel insecure. But we got to be honest. God, here's the areas in my life where I need to grow.
Yeah.
I need to put you first. I need to live out your purpose for my life. And I need to do it now.
Yeah.
I need to keep your commands.
Come on, bro.
He starts talking about the commands of Moses. And that was how they had a relationship with God before Jesus was, in a sense, through the law of Moses. But you know, even though Nehemiah prayed this prayer, we've got to understand that we too have commands and a relationship with God. But not through the law of Moses, but through the life and the teachings of Jesus. Let's go over here, John chapter 15.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, Nate.
I think this is kind of like the same thing that Nehemiah would say, except coming out of the mouth of Jesus Christ.
Pretty sure, bro.
Very good.
Come on.
John 15. You know, I appreciate Nehemiah because he says, dude, all the people have gone the wrong way. All the people have gone astray. Right? And Nehemiah knew he had to help bring people back to God. For us, we do that obviously through Jesus Christ. Let's look right here, John 15, verse 1. This is Jesus speaking. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the words I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine. You are the branches. If you remain in me and I remain in you, you'll bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing.
Come on, bro.
If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that's thrown away and withers. Branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples.
Come on.
This is it. Jesus just wants us to be attached to him. Not even attached like a vine and a fruit. He goes on to say, I need you to be in me as I'm in you. I don't even know. How does it even work?
Come on.
Right? Because if we're in Jesus and Jesus is in us, it says we'll bear much fruit. We'll have an impact on the people around us.
Come on, bro.
Right? How do we bear much fruit? It says, showing yourself to be my disciples. You know what's super great when you become a true follower of Jesus? You can actually go and help other people follow Jesus.
Yeah.
That's called being fruitful.
Yes, come on.
That's called being fruitful. And then someone who is going to go to hell, you know where they go now?
Heaven.
They go to heaven. That in our short, finite lives, we can impact eternity.
Yeah.
We can have an impact in heaven and hell.
Yeah.
That's the calling
That's awesome.
Come on.
that God, that Jesus has put on your life and my life. This is how we restore biblical Christianity. It's like waking up every day and it's like the freaking Super Bowl, man.
Yeah.
We get so fired up about, oh, the Red River rivalry. Oh, Texas has got to play OU. Who cares? Who cares? What matters? What does it matter? If 10 people died this weekend and we're right with God.
Yeah.
Who cares about some football game? And I'm a football player. Who cares? We must remain in Jesus Christ.
Come on, Nate.
You know, how do we do that? How do we do that? How does anyone do that? Verse 7. If you remain in me and my words remain in you. There it is. It's the words of Jesus Christ. You know, in John 8, 31, 32. Jesus says, if you hold to my teachings, you are really my disciples.
Yeah.
If you remain in me, I remain in you. If we deny ourselves, if we carry our cross, if we give up everything, if we put our mother, brother, father, sister, and wife, children second, if they take their rightful place as second in our lives, if God is first, if his mission is first,
Come on, Nate.
then
Come on.
we're going to bear much fruit. We're going to change the world.
Yes, come on.
What good is it if we had a great relationship with our parents, but never lived up to the potential that our spiritual Father God wants us to have? What good is it? I guarantee the majority of us are going to outlive our physical family. Why waste the time? Let me tell you, your parents will be proud of you when they see you living a life for God.
Come on.
They might not get it at first. It took Jesus' mom 3 years to understand what her son Jesus was doing.
Yeah.
And Mary gave birth to Jesus as a virgin. Mary saw an angel.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take for our parents to understand, hey, I'm trying to save the world?
Yeah, come on,
A
Nate.
long time, and that's fine. But are we going to be the men and women of conviction?
Yeah, come on, Nate.
You know, I explained earlier that for the very first time, yesterday, very first time ever, I made a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, come on.
And I made the pumpkin pie from scratch.
Nice.
And let me tell you something. It was yummy. It was yummy. It's a spiced pumpkin pie with cayenne pepper, fresh ginger. Oh, it's so good. I made my own sweetened condensed milk. It was
Whatever that means.
fire.
Thank you.
Fire. It's good. It's a lot of flavor. My wife didn't like it. She likes more simple pie, but I like some mixed spices. Chinese spice. It was awesome. I made everything from scratch, so I had to go get the pumpkin. So I went down to Sprouts, got me some pumpkins.
Okay.
I've never carved a pumpkin, cooked a pumpkin, handled a pumpkin. Zero pumpkin experience.
Nice.
For me, personally. Zero. So I, I do what I always do when I don't know things. I go to the University of YouTube.
Yeah.
University of YouTube. It's always great. There's great lecture, great visuals, step-by-step process. It's fantastic. And so on the University of YouTube, I learned how to carve a pumpkin, or use pumpkins for a pumpkin pie. So I got at Sprouts where I got the pumpkin. There's a pumpkin scraper. So I learned how to scrape all the seeds out of the pumpkin, and it was cool. Honestly, a raw pumpkin smells disgusting. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I roasted it. It smells so good. So good. Anyway, but I pulled out in the middle of the pumpkin all this pulp and then all these seeds.
Yeah.
Ton of seeds.
Did you roast
and they're attached to the inside of the pumpkin. That's why I'm going to roast them today. You have to dry them out for a day.
Oh, so good.
Oh.
Can I get some?
Well, yeah, after I roast them. All right. So I scrape out all of this pulp, and the pulp is attached to the pumpkin. The pulp is the pumpkin.
Yeah.
But I had to cut off the pulp, remove the pulp, but attached to this stringy, fibrous pulp is all the seeds. It's all the seeds of the pumpkin. And then I realized, inside each and every seed is what?
The potential again.
It's the potential to be a pumpkin. So there's a pumpkin, and inside the pumpkin is a seed, which is a pumpkin.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, well, I was thinking, what does this have to do? What does this have to do, guys? I'm not crazy. You're crazy. All right. What does that have to do? What does that have to do with the Bible? It says right here, if you remain in me and I remain in you. I was like, how can I be in Christ but Christ be in me? That makes no sense. And then it hit me. The pumpkin.
Wow.
It was a whole pumpkin. Perfect. Fulfilling its purpose. It grew and it became a beautiful pumpkin. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And even though that is a pumpkin, inside the pumpkin is a seed. But in that seed is what? A pumpkin. And if that seed becomes a pumpkin, it's going to put more seeds in it. And in those seeds will be what?
Okay.
More pumpkin. It is possible. We see even in God's creation, in nature. It is possible for something to exist and inside it to exist again.
That's so
it
cool.
blew my
Come on,
mind. I
Nate.
was like, wow,
Come on,
this is
bro.
what God means. As I live my life by Jesus' words, as I live my life living out Jesus' purpose, as I do what Jesus commands me, as I let God use me, I exist inside of Jesus. But Jesus lives inside of me. You know what it takes for a seed to produce a whole nother pumpkin? The seed has to die. The seed has to be put into the ground, watered, and the seed no longer exists. What's left? A whole nother pumpkin. But that pumpkin has how many seeds in it? I counted probably about 80 seeds in one pumpkin. Could I, Nate Pavone, one man, help 80 other guys get to know God? Could I help 80 people not go to hell and go to heaven?
Come on, bro.
Absolutely, I've done it and more. For the last 7 years, I've poured out all I had, sharing my faith, opening my mouth, studying the Bible, influencing men to repent, to change, and live a life for God. And that's only 7 years. I've got, Lord willing, 50 years in front of me. So many cities and countries and people to save. And I'm so excited. But I must die every single day.
Come on, Nate. Preach that, bro.
If we do that, is he telling us to die? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Read John 12:40. Jesus says, die so many will live. But let's look right here. Let's look right here. We don't have to read John 12:40. They'll read it. Let's go right John 15. John 15. Perhaps you're here and you're like, I thought he was saying restore the worship of God. Wasn't that his point? That is my point. And worshiping God is keeping his commands. We already established that. So what are the commands? Well, to go make other disciples, to die so that many will live. But what does that do for us? Is our life as a disciple like, oh, I'm dying every day, it's so hard, oh, I hate it. No, it's actually really cool. John 15:9.
Come on, bro. Come on, Nate.
As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Well, that's nice. Now, remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. There it is. There it is. Just do what Jesus says. And we are in his love. Now, why would Jesus make that the standard? Well, let's keep reading right where we left off. Just as I kept my Father's commands, I remain in his love. Wow. In order for Jesus to remain in the love of God, what did he have to do? Obey God's commands. So when we obey Jesus' commands, we remain in his love. Now, this seems like a lot of Jesus telling me what to do. but I like my life. Okay, well then you'll be outside the love of Jesus. No, it's your choice. It's your choice. Good for you.
Come on, bro.
Well, then why does Jesus keep telling me what to do? Why does love have to do with obeying his commands? Look over here, John 15:11. I have told you this. Yeah, here's why he tells us this. I have told you this, so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. Ah! There it is.
Yeah.
You see, all of us, we get joy. Hopefully. From things. From maybe getting a good grade on a test, maybe a significant other, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Maybe we get joy hanging out with family. Maybe we get joy after a good, fat, nasty workout.
Oh, yes.
Fires me up. But we get joy. Here's the thing about that joy. The joy that you get from those things is incomplete. It is not complete.
Yeah, come on, Nate.
You're like happy, and then all of a sudden, eventually those endorphins die down, and you're like,
No more pump.
there's got to be more. I'm not happy. And Jesus is not deceived. He goes, you know what? Your joy is incomplete. Here's the thing. Do what I say. Do it now. Follow me now. And your joy will be, you'll be actually happy. You'll be completely happy. Through good, bad, and ugly, you'll be joyful. You'll have a purpose. Your life will have an impact. It'll mean something. You just got to obey my commands. You know, some people are like, oh, I tried the church thing. You didn't try obeying Jesus. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. Church doesn't work. No, you didn't work. You didn't obey the commands of Jesus.
There we go.
Dang, that's fire,
You know
bro.
what I call you? Study the Bible.
Please, big time.
Restore a life of worship. And don't just study the Bible. Do what the Bible says. Do it now. So you can restore a life of worship.
Come on, Nate, that's fire, bro.
My second point. My second point. Restoring God's dwelling place.
Come on, dwelling place.
Like I said, we're studying out Nehemiah chapter 1. And we're going to pick up right here in verse 9. It's an incredible passage of scripture. I read it for the first time today, and it just hit my heart a little different. Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 9, it says right here, I saw how much God cared for his people. Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 9, but if you return to me and obey my commands, then even if your people are exiled, if they are at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from the ends of the earth and bring them to the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. They're your servants, they're your people. God, who you redeemed by your strength and your mighty hand. Lord, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of this your servant and to the prayer of your servants who delight in revering, respecting, or honoring your name. Give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. I was cupbearer to the king. I love Nehemiah, man.
Yeah.
He says, God, I understand your heart. You want a people of your own. You want your own family. You want your own creation, your own sons and daughters to worship you, to love you, to live for you, to find peace and rest and joy in you. You just want to be the dad for them.
Yeah.
You want to. God, you just want to gather them if they obey your commands as a condition. All right, try and have a relationship with your parents and do nothing that they say. Like zero. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And again, we should obey our parents unless we're putting them above God. Then don't do that.
Yeah.
Right? So Nehemiah knew that if they obeyed God's commands, they would be his family. He would gather them, pull them close. I love Isaiah. It says, you pull us close, you carry us close to your heart, as a shepherd carries a baby sheep. I always love that. I'm a little sheep. God just like giving me some cuddles. It's nice, it's comforting. You know, what is success? Success is when God's family is complete. When every person who is outside of God's family comes into it. When they become disciples, when they give up everything. And God has now gathered the people in Oklahoma, gathered the people in Kiev, gathered the people in Poland, gathered the people in Cochabamba, gathered the people in Bahrain. Like God is actually going to the ends of the earth. to pull people in
Come on, Nate.
to his family.
Come on, bro.
You know, this is who we are. We are restoring God's dwelling place.
Come on.
You know, let's go over here to the book of John, chapter 17.
Come on, Nate.
Bro, this is fire, bro.
I'll pick it right here in verse 20. Now, a little bit of context. This is Jesus' last prayer. He prays. And right after his prayer, it's like John 17 and 18. He's arrested, spit on, beaten, put on the cross, and killed. So, I always wonder what Jesus prayed for. Here, right before he died, like just right here.
Come on.
This is what he prayed for. John 17, we'll pick it right here. Let me see. I think it's, here you go, verse 20.
Come on, bro.
My prayer is not for them alone. Referring to the apostles, the leaders. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who will believe in me through their message, the message of the leaders. That all of them, all of the believers, may be one.
Come on.
Father, just as you are in me, and I am in you, may they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. I have given them the glory that you gave me. What is the glory? That they may be one, as we are one. In them, I in them, you and me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me, and have loved them even as you have loved me. I love it. This is it. This is Jesus' prayer. What does he pray for? Unity.
Yeah.
Unity. I look at the world today, there's 33,000 different denominations in Christianity. 33,000 different divisions. 33,000 different houses of God. Where people claim they can come and worship God.
Yeah.
But Jesus prays for the opposite. He's about to be killed, take his very last breath. He's about to die and purchase the church with his blood. And his last prayer was, God, may they be one. May they be a family. What is a family? Number one, they communicate. They communicate, they let each other know what's going on. Number two, they take help from each other. Number three, a family has the same goal, the same purpose. A family has the same standards, the same convictions. They talk about things when it gets hard. You guys are like, what is he talking about? My family never did any of those things or maybe one. That's why it's so hard to trust people in church.
Yeah.
Because we take our idea of what family is and we try and copy and paste that onto God's family, the church. Right? We got to actually rethink what we think family is.
Yeah.
It's a unified group of people. And here's the thing, if you just look around, we's different. We got some Latin people, we got some African American people, just African people, some white people. We got them all. We got some mixed people. Look at my little baby back there. little caramel drop right there. Right? So guys, by all accounts, we are different race. We are different upbringings, different backgrounds. We all have different cultures. We all guys, by no means should we be sitting in this room together. There's no way. Right? This room, to the eyes of the world, is weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Why? Because we're actually God's family.
Yeah.
We actually care about each other. And we actually have the same goal, to save a lost, dark, dead, dying world. See, that's what we're about. You don't believe me? Again, I will refer back to that video we saw. The Good News Network. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but in February, this country called Russia attacked Ukraine.
Yep.
Right? This is the biggest war since World War II. And dead serious.
Yeah.
We have a church in Russia.
Yeah.
We have two, actually. And we have a church in Ukraine. By all accounts, they should never get along. I tell you, I went to the GLC, to Los Angeles. There's disciples from Russia. There's disciples from Ukraine, arm in arm, hand in hand, singing to God like family.
That's awesome.
Well, it blew my mind. I was like, this is incredible. It blew my mind.
That's so
So we're literally changing the world in the middle of a war. You know, I appreciate the Good News Network video. I appreciate our my dear sister Katya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a girl who, she's in her college year. She's our age, your age, guys. And a war broke out. She's getting bombs dropped on her. And maybe only a few of you can relate to that. Maybe. Most of us Americans know. And she has to flee her country. Like one day she's probably in Kiev going to like English 101 or whatever, or Ukraine, whatever language you're learning. I don't know anything about the Kiev education system. By evening, bombs are being dropped in her neighborhood.
Yeah.
Her dad cannot leave the country. He has to stay and fight in a war, and he's probably not a soldier.
Yeah.
And her and mom have to escape through the border and go to a whole other country called Poland. And she's what, 19, 20, lives in Warsaw. Her response is this: I'm going to go build a church in Poland.
Wow. That's incredible.
I just like, what are you doing? You know, I'm like, what? Like, are you serious?
Come on.
Like, what reasonable person in their right mind? That's the response. Like, she's not bitter at Russia. She's not angry. God, why did you do this? God, you made my life so hard. God, you ruined my 20s. I'm a young, blonde, beautiful girl. Why am I in the middle of a war? God, you suck. Why are you making... Like, none of that. None of the common, sense responses.
Yeah.
She says, God, there's people in Poland who are going to hell. I want to build a church. I want to restore your dwelling place in Poland. I want to lay down my life to help people be in a right relationship with you. Come on, bro. That's her response. That's her response. Like, dang. That's awesome. For me, I want to preach more.
Yeah.
For me, I want to build this church faster.
Yeah.
Like, what excuse do I have to wake up today and not give everything I have to building this great church?
Come on.
I know, what's my excuse? Oh, my baby woke up twice last night. I'm running on 4 hours of sleep. Oh, big what, babe? Are you in the middle of a war? Are Russians dropping bombs on your head? No!
Come on, Nate.
I'm gonna go make some disciples!
Come on, Nick.
Come on.
Dude, how's your week been, huh? Huh? I guarantee it wasn't a war. I guarantee. I guarantee. What are the ingredients for unity? What are the ingredients for unity? You share the same purpose. You share relationships of fellowship. You're vulnerable and you're honest. You trust that the people around you, want what's best for you through the scriptures, always through the scriptures. And you're willing to take action. Your action shows that you trust God's family. Your action shows that you want to restore God's dwelling place. You know, if you're a disciple, I want to ask you, what is your role in the church? What is your role? What do you do to build up this great church? What can you do? What more can you do if you're already doing something? You know, I want to lift up my dear brother Dash.
Come on, Dash.
Let me tell you about Dash. Guys, here's a bunch of problems that I have right here. It's represented by the size of my hands. I'm pantomiming these problems here. And I say, wow, here you go, Dash. And I live with him and I take off. I'm like, all right, cool. I just give it to Dash. And here's the thing, he doesn't complain, he doesn't whine, and he flat handles it.
Come on, Dash.
He takes care of all the problems.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I cannot run this church without Dash.
Yeah.
What I appreciate about Dash is he knows he can handle these things, but he knows he can't do it alone. So he pulls together a great team. He's got our dear sister Taylor, who does all the flyers, who does the slides, who does all the songs. And then he's like, you know what? I need help. Maria, she's like, hey. Maria's like, hey, I can actually, I've been like hiding in my pocket here, like all of my talents. She's like, I can actually do graphic design. I can do video editing. Oh my gosh, Maria! And so we pull her in on the team, and she's actually part of our cyber team. So yeah, our dear sister Kelly. Kelly's awesome. Kelly's in Dallas right now worshiping God, and Kelly is like, you know what? I have none of these skills, but teach me, I'll learn. And we say, Kelly, we need you to film. Start filming our Friday Devos, the baptisms, because at the end of the year we do like a little montage video, a year in review, a video of all the memories of the year. And Kelly's just walking around with a little camera. She's like, why? Because Kelly's like, Matt, what can I do? If God dwells here, if If God lives in his church, if God lives amongst his people, what can I do for God? We think that church is not a place we can pour out into. I tell you, church demands everything.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. If we actually see it that way. What is your role in the church? And can you do more? My last point and my final point.
Come on, Nate.
Restoring the grace of rebuilding. Restoring the grace of rebuilding. Nehemiah chapter 2.
Come on, bro.
Come on, Nate.
Nehemiah chapter 2. We're back in Nehemiah. Now, if you remember the problem in Nehemiah's time, the problem was that some good-hearted, well-intentioned people left Jerusalem to go rebuild a temple so people could worship God. And if you read, the book of Nehemiah and Ezra and stuff like that, the people rebuilding the temple, they're like perfume makers. It's like a baker and his daughters. It's a priest, so like a pastor, preacher guy. It's like there's one of the guys building the temple. He was a blacksmith, so he a hammer and makes metal weapons. So maybe he's the closest thing to like a builder. But all these people, they're like not like builders. They're not construction workers. They're not engineers. They're not architects, right? And they go and they're trying to rebuild the temple. And as they're trying to rebuild the temple, the people in the surrounding countries and areas start to persecute them, attack them, make fun of them, ruin their supply lines. They don't want them to rebuild the temple. And it's already hard enough rebuilding a physical temple if you're not an engineer or a construction worker, right? And so they get discouraged. They get discouraged. And this is why Hananiah goes back to Nehemiah, as we read in chapter 1, and he's like, Nehemiah, bro, it's not going good in Jerusalem. Right? And so Nehemiah realizes, dang, I could go and help the rebuilding. I could help the rebuilding. And so Nehemiah chapter 1 ends, and Nehemiah says, hey, I was the cupbearer to the king. He's a very important official. He worked closely to the king. Little side note. Cupbearer, if the king had to eat or drink, and people sometimes they want to kill the king, he would drink the drink like a little sip to make sure it wasn't poison. Or eat the food. Right? So you take a little bite to make sure it wasn't poison. How important is this role? I mean, talk about the level of trust, of relationship you got to have with the king. It's just important. That's a cupbearer.
Yeah.
As well as the military training, the advice. This guy's a very important official. He's a high up in the government. So now he has to go to the king and see if he can rebuild. Nehemiah chapter 2.
Come on.
Verse 1. In the month of Nisan, in the 20th year of King Artaxerxes, when wine was brought before him, I took the wine, I gave it to the king. I had not been sad in his presence before. He never gave in to discouragement. He never walked around even with a sad face. Isn't that crazy? But this time he's actually sad. All right, verse 2. So the king asked me, why does your face look sad? Well, you're not even ill. You're not sick. This can be nothing but sadness of heart.
Wow.
I was very much afraid. I said to the king, may the king live forever. Right, sometimes you're scared. You're awesome, king. It's not you. Now, Nehemiah says, why should my face not look sad? When the city where my ancestors are buried lies in ruins, the gates have been destroyed by fire. The king said to me, what is it you want? I prayed to the God of heaven. God, please be with me. All right. I answered. A quick Nehemiah prayer. You ever do one of those? Like right before you take your final? God, be with me. Right? You know, one of those moments? I always call it Nehemiah prayer. Shoot one up. Shoot one up. Shoot one up. A prayer. Shoot the prayer up. All right. I answered the king. If it pleases the king, if your servant has found favor in his sight, let him send me to the city in Judah, Jerusalem, where my ancestors are buried, so that I can rebuild it. Then the king, with the queen sitting beside him, it's Queen Esther, for all the ladies, He asked me, how long will your journey take? And when will you get back? And it pleased the king to send me. So I set a time. I also said, if it pleases the king, may I have letters to the governor of the Trans-Euphrates. They will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. And may I have a letter to Asaph, keeper of the royal park. He will give me timber to make beams for the gates. So he had to take supplies to build. The gates of the citadel by the temple, the city wall, and the residence shall occupy. And because, here's Nehemiah, because of the gracious hand of my God, and it was on me, the king granted my requests. So Nehemiah gets to go back. He gets to rebuild. He gets to do something great for God. He gets to honor his ancestors. He gets to rebuild something that's going to impact generations and generations. And he gets the supplies. He gets a letter from the king. He gets a time period to go build, not knowing when he's going to come back, but he goes to rebuild the city, to rebuild Jerusalem. You know, obviously you guys, again, you saw the GNN, right? 56 countries, 136 churches, 27 churches started this year.
Yeah.
But all of this came from one church. In the year 2007, 42 disciples, 42 men and women moved to LA to start the City of Angels International Christian Church. 47. In just 15 years, 42 people. No, they've not gone to Bible school. They were not builders. They're not engineers. They're not architects. 42 men and women. In just, 15 years. Have spawned 12,000 disciples.
Wow. Come on.
136 churches. 56 countries. The majority of the 42 don't even live in LA anymore. They're the people you saw on the screen. Andrew and Patrick Smelly. They oversee all of these countries in Africa. But they started in LA. You know, Andrew Smelly, he was in medical school in Cornell University. His wife, Patrick, was a practicing lawyer, got her degree from Cornell. We're talking Ivy League.
Come on.
Yeah.
They moved to LA. They watched Kid McKean build a church from 42 to 500. They get asked to go sent to Africa. Ivy League degrees.
Yeah.
In med school and lawyer. They literally, I remember they came back for GLC after 1 year being after. They're like, guys, we brush our teeth with a water bottle. Because we can't, the water there, like, bro, you could be a lawyer, dog. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Come on, Nick.
Yeah, I remember Patrick. She's like, my kids got sick. And we took them to the hospital. And because they were at that time in Lagos, Nigeria, the hospital knew what the problem was, but didn't have the equipment to help her kids. They had to hope the kids lived.
Yeah.
On hope. And they did live.
Yeah.
But think about it. What, as a mom, what's running through Patrick's mind? What if I stayed in America? What if I would have not come to Africa? What if I would have not come to build a church here? Like, my kids would be sick, they'd be fine.
Come on.
I can't imagine. I would you know?
Yeah, come on, bro. Come on,
I
Nick.
think of Raul Moreno, right? He's got degrees, he's got doctorates, and he's in Mexico. Preaching the word. He was in Brazil for years, building a church to 400. But he started as a college kid
Come on.
in Los Angeles, right? Being preached to that he could change the world.
That's
Wow.
42 people. And in just 15 years, guys, I'll be 45.
Woo.
I'll still be a young whippersnapper.
Yeah.
Y'all will be maybe in your early 30s, still young spring chickens, man. If in 15 years, we've changed 56 countries and 12,000 people's lives, including many you and I who are disciples, we owe part of our salvation to these men, bold and brave men and women who rebuilt biblical Christianity.
Yeah, come on, Nick.
In the next 15 years, what could we do?
Yeah, come on.
It's the same faith. It's the same God. They read the same Bible. Like
Come on,
there's no
Nick.
difference between them and us.
Come on, Nick.
You know, since 2007, the church in Los Angeles has reached over 800 disciples. One church. Like, we're like 20. Dude, 800. They couldn't even you could put all these rooms together and still fill them all.
Come on.
You know, they've given birth to world sectors. They've made leaders. You know, many of us here were at the Global Leadership Conference. Sadly, over the last few years, because the leaders who have been leaving Los Angeles to start churches, a lot of people have felt, we'll use this phrase, orphaned. Hey, I'm a young Christian, but how do I continue to be a Christian? I don't have anyone to lead me. And because of that, the church has gotten really weak. And we've got to rebuild Los Angeles.
Come on, Dave.
It's like we like to say the mother church. Yeah. It is the Jerusalem, the first church in the movement that started. Just like in the Bible, Jerusalem started everything.
Yeah.
You know, just like in Nehemiah, the book we've been reading, Nehemiah got a letter from the king. And in the same way, our movement leader, the one who leads the movement, he wrote a letter to all the churches. And today, all of the churches are getting this letter, including us. And it is called Operation Jerusalem. That's the title of the letter. It is an effort. And guys, the church in LA is the largest church in our movement
Yeah.
of over 800. So it's important that we strengthen the church.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to go ahead and read the letter to everyone.
Come on, bro.
What is Operation Jerusalem? Why is it so important that we help this church rebuild? And so let's just read it. It says, to all sold-out movement churches from Kip McKee and World's Mission Evangelists. Dear family, greetings from New Delhi. For the past few months, the world sector leaders have prayed all the more fervently that the message of the Lord may spread rapidly and be honored, just as it was with you. And that comes from 2 Thessalonians. Therefore, we have made decisions that would allow God's Spirit to do so, such as moving Ukraine and the Baltic nations into the European world sector led by Michael and Michelle Williamson, placing the remaining 11 Soviet nations into the Northern Federation world sector led by John and Emma Kazi. However, the import of this email is to share with you the exciting announcement of the plans for Operation Jerusalem.
Come on.
My vision for the Jerusalem of the movement, which is the City of Angels Church, has long been Acts chapter 2, 41 to 47. And here's what that scripture reads. Those who accepted Peter's message were baptized, and 3,000 were added to their number that day. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, the fellowship, breaking of bread, and prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together. They had everything in common. They sold property possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day the believers met together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes. They ate with glad and sincere hearts. They praised God. They enjoyed the favor of all of the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. It's like a big old family who's saving souls every day. It's pretty cool. Very interestingly, although the Jerusalem disciples were scattered because in Acts 8 there was persecution, later on in Acts chapter 21 we see this interesting fact. Acts 21:17. When we arrived at Jerusalem, the brothers and sisters received us warmly. The next day, Paul and the rest went to see James, and all the elders were present. Paul greeted them, reported in detail what God had done among the Gentiles through the ministry. When they heard this, they praised God. Then they said, Paul, look, brother, how many thousands of Jews have believed. Amazingly, even though the church in Jerusalem had sent out many disciples, it grew back to thousands upon thousands.
That's awesome.
So the church in Jerusalem in the Bible cranks.
Yeah.
Dr. Tim and Leanne Kernan have faithfully led the City of Angels Church since December of 2015. During this era of the movement, the Holy Spirit has sent out many mission teams from LA, but even new world sectors have been born out of Los Angeles. At the 2022 Global Leadership Conference, Elena and I gave the charge to our dear son and daughter in the faith, it's Tim and Leanne, to be the new chancellor couple for ICCM Global. If you're visiting, ICCM is the International College of Christian Ministry. It's a college that actually is accredited, it's started by our churches, and people go to get a degree and train in the ministry.
Come on.
So Tim and Leanne are now going to lead, there's 31 campuses all over the world, right, of ICCM. So they have to lead that, that's the point. So ICCM Global, so we could devote more time to encouraging and strengthening the churches. In the year of the Spirit moved my heart to see leading the Los Angeles church leading the Tribe World Sector, and now leading ICCM Global. It's too much for one couple to lead, even as gifted as Tim and Leanne Kernan. Therefore, we have selected another one of our sons and daughters in the faith to lead the Jerusalem of the movement, Dr. Jason and Sarah Dimitri.
Let's go.
With the writing of his book, The Company of Prophets, and the extraordinary growth of the San Francisco church, and the Dream and Thrive geographic sectors. He's talking about us, by the way.
Come on.
Come on.
We believe that God's Spirit has set apart Jason and Sarah to lead the City of Angels Church. Text message. All right. And to bring in a new era in Los Angeles, where we will grow to thousands upon thousands of disciples and once again baptize daily, while still sending out missionaries for the evangelization of the nations in this generation. Please pray and fast over the following plans. All right, that's cool, right? That sounds cool. Go save the world, save LA. We can all cheer. Hooray! But details.
Come on, details.
Number one, on Sunday, December 18th, so a few months here, after exactly 7 years of bravely leading the City of Angels Church, Tim and Leanne Kernan will pass on the leadership of this church to Jason and Sarah Dimitri. This will officially begin Operation Jerusalem, where 60 plus disciples from San Francisco will move to LA on January 1st, 2023. I know. Tim and Leanne Kernan will be freed up to travel, oversee the Tribe Pacific Rim World Sector, and serve as the Chancellor couple for ICCM Global. Number two, the new region leaders for Los Angeles in January of 2023, Kyle and Janine Bartholomew will lead the North region.
Nice.
Adam and Lauren, the Central. Ole and Regine, the Southland. Matt and Summer Rodriguez, the West. Tyler and Shay Sears with Stephen, Grizzle, and Edie will lead the OC region. Austin and Gigi, Ventura region. Jason and Daniela, the East region. So they're leaving Denver. They're bringing 10 disciples with them. Rob Jenkins of Salt Lake City will lead the Antelope Valley region.
Rob Jenkins.
In June of 2023, Nate and Sam Pavone will leave Oklahoma and go to the South region and prayerfully bring 6 disciples from Oklahoma.
Come on.
Let's go.
Good job, Rob. Way to go.
The super region couples will be the Bartholomews, Dimitris, Woodies, and Sears.
Come on.
The shepherding couples will remain the Untalons, the Kirchners, and then Dustin and Amanda Miller will step out of ministry to train as shepherds.
Nice.
Moving from Phoenix to LA, Jeremy and Amy Charmella to serve as the assistant cyber evangelist and take care of all the web stuff. And the Ibarras, Stacy and Lynette Ibarra of San Diego, will go and lead Phoenix. Now, obviously, that leaves a big hole, because who's leading San Francisco? It's the second largest church. Like,
Yeah,
who leads San Francisco? This Jason's baby. I was the only one. Oh, me and Ricardo were baptized, and Dana and Alejandra were baptized in San Francisco. It's like home for us.
Yeah.
And then many of us have had some leader from San Francisco sent out to your church and baptize you.
Yeah.
Right? So San Francisco is kind of a big
Thank
deal.
you, Sam.
Who leads San Francisco? Right? All right. Number 5. The plans for Operation Jerusalem have these paid full-time disciples leaving Los Angeles, moving into new roles. Fernando and Jackie Chavez will lead San Francisco.
As he should.
Yeah, right? And they'll oversee the Dream churches in California and in Utah. 10 more LA disciples will move with them, including these full-time couples, Rico and Janelle Jones, Tyree and JL Ellison, Hugo and Paulina Melendez, Chris and Jessica McCloskey, Nick and Jesse Cly, and Tyler and Tala Youngsma of Houston will move to San Francisco and bring 10 disciples from Houston. So, I know 5 of you here moved from Houston to start district. So now the Youngsmas plus 10, I get it, guys, I get it. All right, number 2. Artie Baker and Sadvi Montfleur will go and lead San Diego and oversee the geographic sector leader in charge of the Southwest churches. 2 more disciples will move with them. Brian Joali Carr will move to Denver and oversee the geographic sector leader of the Rocky Mountain churches.
Nice.
Ryan and Roses Hill will be the campus leaders. Jason and Sarah will directly disciple Joey and Karen Gregory of Dallas. And prayerfully, Joey and Karen will become geographic sector leaders of the Thrive churches in Texas and Oklahoma.
Come on.
So Joey will actually oversee the church here.
Come on, Joey.
Number 5, Jose and Monica Carranza will go to Houston they'll take 2 disciples from LA, and Israel, Escobar, and Jennifer will move from San Francisco to help them lead the campus.
Come on.
JD and Carla De Leon will move to Daytona Beach, Florida to start a brand new church in 2022 of 12 disciples from the Sages World Sector, with Martin and Carmen Bentley already being there. After years of faithful service, Ryan and Iona Keenan, Michael and Jasmine Peterson will step out of ministry and pursue secular employment. At no point in the history of the sold out movement have so many people been gathered and moved by the Spirit.
Yeah.
Indeed, a new era for the City of Angels Church, and the entire movement will begin on December 18th. To God be all the glory.
Come on.
We are family, bonded tightly by the Spirit. Kid Bikini.
Come on, kid.
You know, the last point is the grace of rebuilding.
Yeah.
You know, we are probably feeling a bunch of mixed emotions about all of this. Even for my wife and I. Fernando found out about the changes on Sunday, like a week ago. We found out on Thursday. We got into a D time. If you notice, like Thursday we weren't really on campus. Friday, because they were telling us. And we were ironing out details of, oh my gosh, we're moving next summer to Los Angeles to lead the South region. But we just started a church. Yeah, I know. Perhaps you have questions. Who's going to lead the church? The Holy Spirit knows. Let me tell you, Oklahoma's very important.
Yeah.
But it's not urgent right now. Because in December, like 2 months, 60 disciples are moving to LA, the chopper's to San Francisco, we're pulling church leaders from Denver, San Francisco. Like, guys, it's nuts. That's in December of like 2 months. Then there's a whole 6 months until summer, and then by that time we'll figure out who's going to lead them. Like Sam and I are here until next summer. It's okay, we're here. Nice, we're here. We love you. We love you. And I want to tell the church, like, our commitment is not wavering.
Yeah.
We're here. We're here now.
Yeah.
I had to come and preach midweek, and I kind of knew what was going to happen by midweek. I had to come and preach Friday devotional, knowing what was going to happen. I'm preaching today, knowing I'm not backing down, guys.
Yeah, come on.
Until the day that I move from here to LA, my heart, my mind, my energy, my efforts, my money, my family is here.
Yeah, come on.
And it will remain so.
Yeah.
And whoever leads this church next, right? Whoever that may be, let us give them something to lead.
Yeah. Come
Let
on.
us give them 40, 50, a church of 60. Let us
Yeah.
fill this room that we can't even meet here. And then when they come, they continue to build
Yeah.
God's church on what we do here.
Yeah, come on, Nate.
So my brothers and sisters, this is the restoration for all nations.
Yeah.
LA has got us to 56 countries so far. But there's 195 countries all over the world.
Yeah.
The call right now is to strengthen Los Angeles as it continues to raise up young men and women who will be sent out to save the rest of the world.
Come on.
So my brothers and sisters, let us keep this in mind as we restore and rebuild Christianity in our day. I love you. Thank you very much.